This episode is presented by our sponsor, Beautifully I Am Me. That's right, my online store is now finally available. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this video. Hope you enjoy this cognitive inspiration production.
Glasses, okay, okay. I see you.
Don't hate cause I'm beautiful. I'm next cause I feel to glow. No shade cause I'm rolling up. Shine down, open up light cause I'm ready to flow. Yes.
All right, let's get this party started. Welcome to a very special episode of the Rhymer's Corner, where rhyme meets reflection and every story finds a voice. Every October, as you know, we honor Breast Cancer Awareness Month by pausing to recognize the courage, resilience, and beauty of women everywhere. Those who are fighting, those who have overcome, and those whose strength continues to inspire everyone around them. I'm honored to bring back to the Rhymer's Corner filmmaker and Los Angeles native Andrea Walker Williamson. She's a creative visionary whose lens captures the history of humanity. Her work reminds us that storytelling isn't just an art form. It's healing, hope, overcoming, and empowering in motion. And before we dive in, I'd like to give a heartfelt thank you to this episode's sponsor, Beautifully I Am Me. It is my online merch store where you can find apparel, and even this signature tumbler I designed to represent my brand. And it has one of my poems. I don't know if you can see it, but I have my poem written in behind the tumbler. You can go online to purchase this and other merchandise. And right now, let's get this started. Peace, love, and poetry, family. You're listening to the Rhymer's Corner, where verses comes with a pulse and truth. I am your host, Abyla Lloyd, and you're tuned in to a special raw and rhyme edition, an episode I am calling Out from the Dark, Real Talk in Their Own Words. And in this episode, for the ones who have been through it, not just storms, who are still going through their storms, but full out blackouts, the kind where your body breaks down and your mind goes quiet, and the only sound that is left is your story trying to fight its way out. And in this episode, I am honored to bring back someone who is still fighting, but she continues to move on as a mother. And in this episode, she is telling her story from her own words. She is an independent filmmaker, a fierce mama, and a survivor. She's also the founder of Create Noise Production, a platform where stories doesn't just whisper, they roar. Please help me welcome back to the Rhymer's Corner, the one and only Andrea Walker Williamson. Thank
What's
you.
up?
I don't even know you, man. All of that, you made it sound real good.
Ellie Jesser Raphael, no, I'm not, but I am excited to see you. Welcome back, sis. It's a blessing.
Thank you. Yes, it is. No, I'm honored, and especially honored to be on your platform to share anything. So I appreciate you for allowing this.
You actually reached out to me to have this episode, and I want everyone to know that how we came about, because this is not about, oh, she's using her story to get share comments. No, she reached out to me to have this discussion, and I want to just allow the audience to understand that you're not just a creator, but you are a woman who is living through what most only read about. So let's take it back before we get started, before the applause, before everything. When life got still, when your health started to slip, I want you to tell me about your story. Just tell me in your own words. What did silence sound like for you, Andrea?
I mean, to be honest with you,
silence lets you know who's real and who's not. Silence lets you know that you're stuck with you no matter what. And that's where the truth lies, right? That's where the conversations, that's where the enemy tries to tell you what you can't do, what's going to happen to you. And then that's where you have to affirm if you're going to agree, if you're going to lay down, if you're going to stand up, if you're going to choose to try and move forward another day. And I guess just to backtrack a little bit, I guess I should probably tell you the journey and where I am right now. So I initially just did a regular mammogram, and it came out to be irregular. And I was asked to come back and do a second mammogram. During that second mammogram, a specialist reached out and said that I should probably do a biopsy because it was a dense tissue and maybe a cyst that they saw in the mammogram. I still was living my best life, so I can't say that I thought anything of it. I did the biopsy. The biopsy actually made my body started to respond to that biopsy, and it built like a small knot next to where the biopsy was. And I was thinking that was just my body identifying that something had happened, but that knot started to shift, and it started to feel like something was not right. I requested another appointment, and when I got another appointment is when they referred me out to some doctors. And these particular specialists were like, it was kind of like an emergency for them, because when I was thinking I was just going for a mammogram, another one, so that I could get better pictures, but they said they wanted to do a mammogram and another biopsy. And when that happened, I was just like, oh, okay, they just gonna see that it's a cyst or whatever. I don't know. And I was thinking that, because, you know, we talk to each other, right? So women, we'll call up somebody who we know has something similar. So I had already started to make those type of calls, and somebody said, oh, well, as a matter of fact, I have a sister who works in medicine. So she said, oh, no, that might just be scar tissue. So just try to break up the scar tissue. So I just happened to be pushing in on the tissue, and it's like when your spirit starts speaking to you, my spirit said that's not scar tissue. And then I started thinking, like, if it's not scar tissue, what would that be? By the time I took the next test, and I had like 2 missed calls, but I was already on another documentary job. So I was in San Francisco, and I had missed the calls. I was on set. But that night when I started packing my bag, the lady called me, and it was really, really late, you know. And so I'm like, that's that same number. I answered, and she says, Andrea, we have some findings, and this is not good, right? We need you to come in. And so I did schedule when I was going to come in, but I said, I need to know now. I don't want to wait, you know, and all the anxiety started coming, you know, because, you know, you start thinking of all the other thoughts that had reoccurred and all of that. So she told me, you know, it looks like we found a cancer. And I was just like, I rebuked that, you know. And I kept saying, if I don't acknowledge that that's what she said, then that's not what it is, right? And so that's where I lived at in my head to get me through, you know, until I could get home. But by the time when I got home to that appointment, that knot had grown. And I'm saying that knot was growing, you know. It was originally, it wasn't, it was kind of loose. But by the time I made it to this appointment, it went from just like a dot to being like a nickel to being like a quarter. And it was already hardened. And so I'm like, is that how cancer moves? Like, I don't understand. And so I went in, and it was 2 of us, right? And I'm letting this person know how exactly I'm feeling. And he's like, just listen to what the lady has to say. Just listen to what they have to say, and just get any paperwork so that you can read it, because you might not understand. But we went in, And he recorded everything for me, from my phone so that I could hear the conversation. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I probably left my body so many times because I just was like, how? And everything, all the markers that they usually see, it was coming up negative. So I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, which is the most aggressive. And it took me a while to even learn that it was so many different types of breast cancer, because I'm thinking that you could treat them all the same. So when she's talking to me, I'm like, well, we could treat it, but I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this because I know you guys could do this. And I'm thinking that I know something because I did some research and I didn't know enough, And so here I am on this journey, yeah.
So what motivated you to reach out to me to say, Tanya, I would like to have a podcast?
Because it's really common. I didn't realize how common it was. I didn't realize how common, especially for young African American women, this particular diagnosis is very common amongst us. And a lot of times we try to do stuff on our own. For a while, I waited to try to do it on my own. And if it wasn't for the research and for the information, I probably would still, it would probably still been growing inside of my body, and me thinking that I could contain something like that. Ananda Lewis's story, she passed away around the time that I got my diagnosis, and I had no idea that she had cancer. And I went down the rabbit hole of following her posts, and she inspired me to go ahead and start treatment right away, and go ahead and go to a teaching hospital where they had research and information and students could learn, and so I chose UCLA, and if it wasn't information out there like that, I probably would have still been trying to do it with herbs and, changing how I eat. And I don't want to say that everybody's journey is the same, because it's not. I don't want to say that how we tackle things is down one valley, one path. But I will say that it's certain things that are outside of our control, and sometimes we might have to seek more help and more resources. And so I wanted to make sure that that if I could give some information and some insight and be the face of something like that, especially tapping more into just trusting God, because to catch something that early, and to see the growth of it, it's scary. It's scary, but I know it's a lot of women who find out and they don't have options. The fact that it was a treatment plan for me. I know it's a lot of people that it's not a treatment plan for. And like when I go for infusions, I see people that come with a cane. I see people that come in a wheelchair, and I'm walking out and I'm walking in on my own, and I can still kind of maintain a healthier weight. And I know people who can't. I've had these conversations with women who cannot. And I just know we're all built different. But if it's something that I could do, I feel like this is the least that I could do. I'm still in my journey. Like right now, the markers are showing, I don't have any cancer in my blood. I don't have any cancer in my MRI, but I still do have to complete the treatment. I still am going through the hard chemo infusions. I still have to do the radiation. I still, it's still a process for me. But at the same time, I have children. And it's really hard. Sometimes it's a task just to take a shower, just to eat, just to get up and drive people somewhere. But I do know that this is just where today is. You know what I'm saying? But one of the things that I'm thankful for is that I have people like you that have a platform where it could go outside of just my small circle, and it's other people that look like me and you who could say, get all the information, seek resources, do what you can to take care of yourself, really take care of yourself, really listen to your body. And if something is saying this is not right, it's probably a reason for that, So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I reached out. It's a couple of different reasons, but that's the main reason. That's because I felt like I had a responsibility.
And you mentioned to me about your diagnosis, my heart sank. I cried many times, even at work.
Get it?
Because I told them about what not in detail, but you are like my sister, and
Sure, for sure.
So for those who are watching, it is okay to cry. It's okay to show the person who's going through what you're going through that it's okay to cry. So many people are afraid to really show their emotion because they feel like it's a sign of weakness. But you would not know how much I care about you if I don't. So thank you. Thank you for wanting to talk about this, because with everything you're going through, now you have your mother on top of that. Being in your position, people, wow, it's not easy being the superhuman.
True.
That hits different. So how are you carrying all this weight without falling completely apart? You said you have the support, but with everything with mother, how your family, your children, and the discovery, and with your diagnosis, and real talk, how has it been for you as a mother and your children, and how they're adapting?
I keep a lot of stuff close to the chest. I'm one of those people, you don't really know what I'm going through until I just it's spilling over. And this is one of the things that I had to tell my children, and it was hard. I'm not gonna lie. If it wasn't for my cousin Latasha, I probably would not have told my children. I have really great relationships with some of the people that I grew up with. Like, I feel like I grew up with you, and it's like when we go through stuff, people know us. They know that we gonna try to do it on our own. And I was challenged with that. You cannot do this on your own. You cannot hide this from them. You're not gonna just immediately feel better. This is months and months and months. This is gonna be residuals. And because I still had my hair, which I don't have anymore, I still had my hair. I still primarily was fit. I still was able to go to the gym. I just had certain down days. I was choosing to wait as long as I could, and it was killing me. It was killing me. The anticipation of them hearing it from somebody else, reading it on a piece of paper or something that I had, and trying to hide everything. It just became so heavy, and they knew certain days I just didn't feel good. I'm like, just bring me some tea, just bring this. Originally, I wanted to do it like in a storybooks, right, where you do a one-on-one, and then like you have that time with that one kid, and then you can move on to the next kid, and you catch them where they at. And it did not work out like that. I first tried to have a conversation with my youngest, and he knew. He said, "Do you have cancer?" And I was like, and then I said no, right? I lied. I said no. And then I ran to my room. And I usually keep my door open when, life is going on all throughout the house. If I'm not sleep. And I could hear them in there, and I could hear him turning the TV up like he was drowning something out. And my spirit, it did not sit well with my spirit. And I called my cousin. I had told her, and she says, "Why are you doing this to yourself?" And I said, "I am doing this to myself, huh?" And it was like, I said, you know what? Let me just get it out the way. Let me just do it. And I made a decision to just do it. And I sat in the living room, and I called everybody in the living room. And I said, I really have to talk to you guys about something. And I had apologized. His name is Jordan. I said, Jordan, I just want to tell you I lied just now when you asked me, was that cancer? And he was like, what? You know, he was like mad at me immediately. And I said, yeah. I said, you know, it's treatable, but it's cancer. And you know, like, words hurt. You know, words really hurt. So that word for me meant a lot. For a lot of people, that means a death sentence, right? But I'm like, it's not a death sentence. It just means treatment. It just means that this is where we are right now. And I answered the questions that they had, and I told them the truth. I said, I don't want you to start looking stuff up because the information that's there is vague. It's not based on where I'm at. So I'd rather you ask me, you know, and I could tell you where I am specifically. And, you know, and my daughter, it was a couple of days before her birthday. And she's like, I don't want to have a party. I don't want to do nothing. And I said, well, I still want to celebrate you. I still want to do something for you. We don't have to have a party, but we still got to do something. We still got to recognize that you're a year older. And so I would like to do that. And she just crying. And then my oldest, he just kept saying, what? And so he left the living room. He was still listening, but he didn't want to deal with being in the same room with us, you know. And when I went to approach him, he just was like, and he's still very nonchalant about it. I can't say that everything is butterflies and rainbows in my world. It's nowhere near it. You know, they became very rebellious. I have 2 teenagers who definitely give you that full puberty energy, you know what I'm saying? But and more. And I had to realize that a lot of what they're doing is just they don't know how to respond to what's happening. You know, Dad has been deceased for a while, you know, and we do have really great people in our life. We do have a really great support system, but children, they don't know how to just accept what's real and what's there sometimes too. So they rebel against that as well a lot. It's an everyday struggle, to be honest with you. It's one of my closest friends always says one day at a time, and so now I've adopted that. It's one day at a time, you know. So yeah, for sure.
Right. Now here's the twist. While your body is going through the struggle, what you feel is breaking down from where it was, you're still building something, and that's Create Noise Productions. And now you may have shifted your energy, you know, more on your health and away from your filmmaking, but you're still creating noise. You're still telling a story. Right. While most people will stop, you're hitting record. Just knowing you for all these years, the real thing that I know about real creators, is that we don't wait to heal to start making art, to start telling stories. We create through the wound. We create with a limp. Now I know what you brought. You brought something with you in this episode, and that is a piece of what I feel comes straight from the space that you're in, the struggle and the truth. So let's talk real. You're an independent filmmaker, a mother, a woman of vision, but you're also human, you know, in terms of your film crew and outside of your family, outside of me. Who do you feel in your business has been pushing you to say, keep filmmaking, keep telling keep doing it, who do you want to give that credit to?
Well, it's not just one person. It's not just one person. To be honest with you, the people that I've been working with are family, you know, Jamal Holland and his wife, Ruby Holland, PQ Brown, Lynn Johnson with the Stories of the Soul, Soul Train piece. And then I have John Stewart, I have Sanders Mosley, I have my cousins, you know, and it's crazy too, because Create Noise started off as more of like a family-oriented, business. So I travel with my children. Sometimes, like, my daughter PAs for me. She does photography, you know. Her friends have been my interns with us, and so everything is really, really close to the chest. But I will say that when you reach out and say that you need people, the right people who show up. Like I have a friend named Tish who we went to middle school and high school, and she knows nothing about this business. But when I needed to go past Fresno, 4 hours away for a recording, she was the driver for that. She drove us there, drove us back. She didn't know anything about what we were doing. She stayed in the air, sat in her car playing video games, and you know what I'm saying? She ate and drove us back. And for my treatments, she was one of the first people that said, I'll be an alternate person who will go and sit with you, you know? And then it's like when it comes to like life partners and people who show up for you, you never know what God is going to give you or what you're going to need, right? And so the person that I was dating stepped up, you know, and didn't run and has been there. And I just can't say that it's just been any one person, because God puts it on people's hearts and people will just show up, you know, and it's always more than what you needed, sometimes more than what you needed. And it's sometimes it's simple. Like my cousin Tasha came and brought a platter of food on a day that I just was like, I can't meal prep, I can't do nothing, but I don't want to do pizza again. I don't want to have us eating burritos off the little taco truck today, you know? And so it's just stuff like that, you know? And the beautiful part of it is the week that my hair started to shift, and where I knew this is changing. I didn't know I was going to be bald, but I knew this was changing. That was the week that that we were the official selection at the film festival for Stories of the Soul. And that same week we signed our first distribution agreement. And you know, I signed an agreement to collaborate with another production studio for the We Are America doc. So it's one of those things where God would just say, keep going, keep pushing, you know. This is not the only thing for you to stay focused on, you know. And most of the time, the creation comes, the healing comes within the creating, you know. And so I've been able to really speak to that, you know. And then it's like, where you want to talk to people, you don't want to always tell them like, oh, hey, I'm not feeling good, you know. Today, I'm blessed to have people that I could really be able to say stuff like that to, and they can still hold the fort down, you know, where everything is not collapsing around me. So
congratulations on your achievements, and kudos to you and your crew. And speaking of inspiring lives through vision and work, for someone who is listening and watching this podcast right now, she or he may be juggling pain, passion, and pressure, and she or he hasn't told anyone what they're going through. What would you say to them? Now, you say everyone's journey is different, but what would you say to someone who is juggling pain, passion, and pressure?
You got to take some time to yourself. The meditation and the quiet is where you get the answers from. And I started to look up healing scriptures. I started to do the affirmations. I had to sometimes write down things that I have to read again to remind myself. And then I had to surround myself with people who know who I am, so that if I get lost in this thing, whatever it is, that I can come back to who I am, you know? And so you want to make sure anything that's toxic, anything that does not feel right, you have to rid yourself of it. And you have to make sure that it's got to be some kind of faith component to where you are in your life. You have to have something larger than just what's in front of you that you believe in. I'm not going to tell you to believe in what I believe in, but I'm going to say, create some quiet time and some space for yourself, and you have to reason within that space. You know, I had to tell myself that this is not where my journey ends, that I'm gonna make sure that I do everything that I can do to be here, because it's my story just can't end like this, you know. And my children won't be the last thing that they remember, you know. And And so no matter what I'm going through, I constantly say that, like, this is just a page, in my story. This is definitely not where we're stopping. And when I don't feel good, I acknowledge, okay, this is just where I am now. But tomorrow's a new day. You know what I'm saying? And whatever it is, like, I know. I'll give you this. It's a really solid piece as well. I had to go to the doctor to get the port put in for the medication, and I had a lot of anxiety. I had so much anxiety. I told them I don't want to be put to sleep. I want to be, aware. They said, well, we're gonna give you some anxiety medication. It's just gonna make you a little more calm, whatever. And I just told them I don't want to be enclosed, and that's just me, right? But that's because my mind just had me creatively all over the place, and I just had to be honest. And so the staff is like, well, one of the ladies, she came, she held my hand, and it's crazy, her name was the exact same name as mine. So I felt comfort in that, okay. And she said, you could pick a song, and I'm just gonna play it on YouTube, and it'll be playing while, and she said, you'll be totally aware. It'll be like a sheet, and you'll still see what's happening, but you won't, and I said, well, I'm gonna just turn my head. I appreciate that. You don't have to give me all the details, but I want you to play this song, And so that song that she played was the song that was helping me through processing all of this stuff, right? And so she played that song, and I'll share that song. That song was it was Lionel Richie and the Commodores. It was Jesus is Love, right? And so when that song finished playing, it just played other songs that complemented that in that algorithm. And it just gave me a calm and a peace. And when everything faded out, I just kept reminding myself of that. And they were like, oh, we're done, And so, in between that, I had to have all these scans, right? All these different types of MRIs. And I don't like to be enclosed at all. And I had to, other places don't allow the music, but I had to play it in my own mind, and I had to remind myself, and then I had to find my own comfort in that. But you have to, like, I'll say this too, even going through the CAT scan machine, it's open on both sides, but it's loud. It's just something about it, and it does something to you internally, where it's just like, it's chaos, right? I had to tell the lady wanted me to put my face in this donut. And I had to tell her, I don't feel comfortable putting my face in this little donut. I don't want to just be looking at the floor. So she says, well, you're not going to be able to move. The most you'll be able to move is your thumb, and that'll be for like emergencies, but you're going to be in here for like 20 minutes. And so I had to tell her, I would like to turn my head on top of the donut so that I could see more. And so she's like, are you sure that's going to hurt your neck? And I said, I'm sure, because if I feel limited, my brain is going to take me somewhere else. And so I think that once you know yourself, and once you start going through whatever your path is, the more you know about you, the more you could get through, and that helped me. And I did. And I don't know if that's just the rebel in me that just had to lay like that. And even though my neck was cramping a little bit, I was like, shit, I still could see, and I still could identify specks on the wall and what the floor is and this and that. And it just helped. It just helped me, because it felt like that was one little thing that I could control about that situation, and it allowed me to lay there while they took these photos, and I had to say, my body don't know that I'm healed yet, but my mind already knows, and that's one of the things that I've been going through in this journey. I have to self-identify. And so most things that you go through, I'm realizing it's really about the mind. It's not all, and the mind is going to control what the body does a lot of times. And even things that we can't change, once we get it here, everything else will get it there. It's definitely a process that I have to go through. I had to basically come into agreement with myself, like, this is where I'm at. But for anyone else, straight up, deal with you, take time with you, date you, take that pen and paper, record your voice, do whatever you have to do to deal with you one-on-one. That's what it's about. It's about you and you. At the end of the day, when everybody else is gone and when all the music dies down, everything drowns out, you stuck with you. You are stuck with you. And I promise you, those things that hit your spirit, that's the Creator working on that, driving it there. So that's the piece of enlightenment that I got, and all of that. And I'm still in it. Like, I'm definitely not out the dark, as I would call it. But I will hope that this helps anybody who's entering the dark or just currently tunneling out.
Speaking of creativity, I have something I want to speak on behalf in dedication to you. It's a poem that I have written, and I'd like to cite it. Excuse me. Me. Okay. It is titled Fade In, I'm Still Here. Fade in. No makeup, no filters, no script. Just breath. And a body refusing to quit. Fade in. A mother too tired to stand. But she's still folding dreams with trembling hands. Fade in. Lights off. But the mind is stayed lit. They tried to write her out, but she flipped the script. Roll credits if you want. She does not fear. The scene ain't over, she's still here. She still say, I'm still here. In her own words, I'm still here. That's in dedication to you.
Thanks.
Is there anything else that you want to say, Andrea? For one, what's most important, and even with myself, I'm turning 50 this year. So I know, we're so busy and we're afraid of the truth, especially when our bodies are giving us signals and we're like, what is this bump? What is that? We try to glass it. Oh, maybe it'll go away. Let me see if that bump will go away in a couple of... But having our mammograms, going to the doctors, the dentist, the whatever, we have to... just having those routine checkups is important. But as a truth teller, and a mother, and the founder of Create Noise, and still living proof that you can walk through the dark and still create light. Andrea, your story and what you're telling me and everyone else in this episode is reminding us that healing isn't pretty. Creating while broken isn't clean, but it's real. And real is what we need. So to every mother, grandmother, sister, daughter, creator, and fighter listening, don't wait to be perfect. Don't wait to be polished. Don't wait to be pain-free to tell your story. Speak, tell your story, even if your voice trembles. So, Drea, in your words, is there anything that you want to talk about? And before we conclude this episode, your loved ones, your friends, your colleagues, or anyone else that you have in the past and present, lasting words?
For some people, this is going to be the first time that they've heard anything about a diagnosis for me. I have not shared my story with a lot of people. And I do have a lot of people that I'm close to who have no idea what I've been going through. I wouldn't say that that's the way that everybody should do it. You don't want to feel like you suffered in silence or anything like that. It's just what I chose for myself. I felt like everyone had an antidote. Everyone that I did talk to had an antidote, or they brought some kind of energy to it. And I had a couple of family members who came with their judgment. One of the first things that someone told me is that I must not have prayed hard enough. Okay. And
wow.
then I told my dad, and my dad was like, well, you should go to the church and had them pray for you, because that it'll go away if they pray for you. And and it's just like stuff like that. And so I had to deal with it how I chose to deal with it, and I chose to limit certain conversations, and so I could, process whatever. And I didn't want everybody else's energy on where I am right now. And so I would say, deal with things how you need to deal with it. Process it, whatever it is. It don't have to be a diagnosis. It don't have to be a health scare. Whatever it is, everybody's going either into a situation or coming out of a situation, and we all dealing with something. That just come with just being human and living this life. But I would definitely say, figure out how you need to process whatever it is. Some people have never been there, and so I don't hold anything against anybody, but don't be mad at me. I definitely did not share this I struggle just telling my own children. So just imagine me telling outside family members outside of my household and stuff like that. And then I also did not want to be bombarded with all the advice and all the extras that come with that as well. I'm like really a private person, and go figure, so I'm choosing to share at this point, but yeah, I definitely would share with people to find where you are.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with me, and coming out from the dark to reveal to the world what you're going through, and the courage to speak. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
I love you, and you know where to find me. Where I'm here. So as busy as I am and you are, we still make time to connect, and you've been like that always, forever, ever. Okay. So I speak life. I speak survivor. I speak blessings and covering for love to you and your family. And more information, ladies and gentlemen, about support services and breast cancer awareness will be found in the description. Thank you, Andrea. If you know Andrea Walker Williamson, she's also one of the co-hosts of our sister podcast, Flowers with a T. So if you look at her and say, oh, she looks familiar, well, that's because she's one of the co-hosts. So yes. So thank you for sharing your story again, Andrea, and always everything with love. I am your host, Abyla Lloyd, and this is the Rhymer's Corner Special Edition podcast episode. Out from the Dark, real talk in their own words with our featured guest, Andrea Walker Williamson. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. Stay loved, blessed, be well. Take care. All right, that's a wrap.
Hey.
Yay. I'm glad that you're doing this.
For the platform,
Mm-hmm.
it's where we are right now.